Yo, what up? It's your boy Zaud. Welcome to the Gulag. And basically, what I wanted to talk about right now, this is kind of an extension of Zaud's Vision. When we're doing other things, as far as like having other guests on, we will be doing it in a live studio or basically in a studio. But when we need to bring you something quick or something that we feel we need to talk about right away in a more intimate setting, seeing that we are in a Gulag, uh, don't necessarily pay attention to the background. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. It's a work in progress, but for the most part, as long as you can understand what I'm trying to bring to you, I guess I'm doing exactly what I need to do. But basically, man, the last time I had went live, it was for the people that were like, yeah, fix your internet. For one thing, the house is over there and the shed part is over here, so it's kind of a distance. And seeing that things are, it did on how to say fibers or whatever, or files or whatever, the way they transfer internet or whatever, we don't have that. You know what I mean? Even though we're under AT&T, they like in this particular area they don't have those. They gotta do a revamp of everything and get things more up to date and on par. And regardless of how much you pay for extra, it still continues to be this. Even paying a lot more, even in the house, the internet is shoddy. I've bought all types of you know uh boosters for the internet, and we bought the best one and still did absolutely nothing. So basically that's what I was left with as far as going live this far away from the house. Now in the house there's still a little bit of, you know what I mean, but it's nothing on that level of distortion. And I was surprised that people actually sat down to pay attention to it, seeing that you could barely see uh what I was doing. But I guess I won't say that I was that entertaining when it came to, this war that's ongoing. And that's something I really want to talk about right now too. You know what I mean? Like I seen the whole thing with Putin, and he's sitting down with one of the dudes from Ukraine. I'm not particularly sure who the president is nowadays, because they show one guy that was like the ex-president, and they show the real president, and he's basically telling Putin like, I'm out here. You know what I mean? You can get that smoke, but there's a lot of things, a lot of different things taking place. You got people that want to leave the Olympics in order to come back to Ukraine in order to fight, and that's honorable. You know what I mean? But for the most part, if you don't have to, just stay doing your thing. You can do things for your country without getting involved in this war. Especially, you already got the Kalinsky brothers. Man, I don't even want to say the name. Sorry. You know what I mean? That you already know who the boxers are. They plan on taking part in this war. But if anything's a silver lining is the fact that Putin actually, I guess, sat down with somebody of the Ukrainian government, and I guess they plan on squashing things. But it's yet to be determined. But I spoke on it before, exactly what it was about, and I'm sure there's a lot of other things that that this particular war is about. But for the most part, there was a lot of things that were going on. Now, don't get me wrong. Putin is part of he has that old Cold War thinking. The when Russia was at its strongest, when they had all these other countries that were enveloped under, what I mean, under the under Russia, basically. Sorry if I'm stuttering. I'm cold as hell out here, but I felt like I needed to talk to a few people, because there's a few things that they were saying that I didn't necessarily respond to them, because I try to avoid trolls, especially when they make absolutely no sense. Now, if it comes to a constructive conversation, what I mean, you give me constructive criticism, how I can better my my podcast slash channel slash whatever, then I'm all ears, because I'm a hustler and I'm gonna get it how I get it. Now, the whole thing with Putin, I tell you, he's been putting it off for quite some time. But I mean, you push the bear long enough, and he's gonna snap back. And the U.S. has been pushing at this bear for a while, and like I said, he picked the perfect time to want to invade Ukraine, if simply for the fact that our government, what I mean, as far as like those who are in power as of now, I don't want to say the Democrats, but they're looking weak right now, and it's due to this president and the fact that this president refuses to do anything outside of sanctions. Now, I think Putin is starting to understand that some of these sanctions are hurting his bottom line, and not necessarily his pocket, because I'm sure he has all types of like offshore things, places where his money and people that will rally behind him. If only in secrecy, because I mean, you had China as basically one of their greatest allies, but yet when the sanctions were imposed, they were the first ones to vote on these sanctions on Russia, which was surprising, but not necessarily surprising to the not so surprising. I could see it because it takes the attention off them, like, you know what I mean, as far as them being warned, like, look, if you try something, this is exactly what's going to happen to you. And I think China kind of gets it, so they want to remove themselves until they make their move, which I'll get into that in a second. The whole thing with them and what they've been trying to do and posture and basically warn the West on exactly what they hope to accomplish and not to get involved. But now, due to all the posturing from the U.S., as far not even necessarily the U.S., but from our now elected president, Joe Sleepy Biden, this dude has been weak from the gate, and everybody knew it. I had a conversation with an individual today, and I think he's been following my channel for quite some time, and my social media as far as IG, and he had made a statement. It was kind of bold, but it was like basically, everything that Trump had did, and like all like the little he said and all that, and that basically if you voted for him, you had to be stupid, like, to overlook everything that he's did. So I in turn told him, well, if you voted for Biden, you would have to be, lack some semblance of intelligence. If I mean, especially, and I'll take that back. You don't lack intelligence. You chose who you wanted to be in office, in hopes of him being in office, and you accomplished your goal. So kudos to you. Now, for the ones that don't feel like they need to jump on the Biden train, you got to respect that as well. But I in turn told him that, well, outside of the fact of Biden saying that if you're not, well, basically you're not black, not even basically, he said it outright, like, you're not black basically if you don't vote for him. Not only that, dude is probably one of the last real Dixiecrats. He's in a picture hugged up with the Grand Wizard. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know how much people tend to overlook things, but I mean, you can dig back and you can also look at some of his speeches that they don't borderline on hate. They're just exactly what it is. He considers blacks like the Clintons, predators. And I'm not here, to get on them, race as far as that, but it's just to point out a few things. Like, if you point a finger at Trump, then you got to point fingers at him. And which I then in turn told him that if the plight of the black man was so strong under Trump, why was it that for years the blacks have given him multiple accolades? Like, he's got awards that blacks that have been around longer than him and doing things haven't got, but they gave him multiple accolades. So I was like, when you think about it, I really couldn't understand it, but I was like, okay, so you can overlook all that, then maybe, if then you're sleeping, you know what I mean? And of course, I'm not going to get disrespectful when it comes to politics, because politics are politics. It's just, it's his opinion, and he has a right to his opinion, basically, you know what I mean? And I have a right to mine, and it's not to champion anybody, you know what I mean? It's like, we make our choices who we vote on. We made our choices who we chose to back. And I think a lot of people get shit misconstrued as far as, like, they think because you have like a background and you may have did things that were unsavory in the past, that you no longer have the right to decide certain things, or somehow you're not American, or you're not nothing. You're just an ex-criminal, and you have no right to really speak on nothing, which is a shame, because that's I don't know. The people that think on that level are just small-minded, because if anything, you would want a person that's been incarcerated to not only excel, but to expand his mind and seek other things outside of, I can just go back to the street, rob this person, kill this person, bang this, bang that, and everything's just peachy cream. People expect that. It's like, it's like I said a long time ago, people expect me to be absolutely the same as I was. And there was a reason why they called me wicked before. I mean, everybody knows blacks, but I mean, for the other people that knew what was up, they knew what was up with wicked, and and there's a reason that they called me that. But, at this age, I try to, not repress that or suppress that or whatever. I try to avoid certain things because it's no real, a lot of things that are taking place right now, as far as like in the pen, and people going to prison for dumb things because they want to be boastful like that. Those don't really appeal to me at this age. Like I've been there, I've done that, and as much as people like to try to downplay it, like I've did it, I've survived. It's like, for the people that know my story, look, I'm a black Southern. I'm already in my 40s. And I rumbled. You know what I'm saying? Like I did what I needed to do to make my car look good. Not only my car, but my area. And I did what I needed to do to survive in prison. Sometimes a little bit. I did things that were unnecessary because I kind of relished in violence, because you're in a setting to where violence is everything. So I relished in it, and Wicked fit right in at that point. I mean, there was times where, not to get sidetracked, but there's times that I did a little bit too much because it's just the type of person I am, you know what I mean? And as far as want to listen to certain things, like, yeah, I was a little unruly at times, but I also knew, there's situations you just couldn't win in. But now, let's get back to Sleepy Joe Biden. Biden has made the U.S. seem weak, but they have been doing this every they get okay. This just dig into it. You had the 9/11 bombing. You know what I mean? A lot of people died. That's not the first time they've bombed the Twin Towers, but that one they successfully just did damage. Of course, the government already knew that it was coming. You had the people from Israel pull out all their money. You know what I mean? Before it happened, it's just, you know what I mean? And nobody really wants to talk about the building that got hit, a little bit adjacent to that. But I'm not going to get into all that. My whole thing is, the reason they're bringing up the 9/11 and the Twin Towers is the fact that Clinton had a chance to take Osama bin Laden out. You had a building full of people, too, all dead, when you could have hit there's the lesser of two evils. You hit this village, maybe a few people die along with him, or all these people die in the Twin Towers. They chose the latter, you know what I mean? And the loss of life was far more greater than if they would have just. But that's not the first president to do it. You had Kennedy with the whole Cuban Missile Crisis. They had it, but they backed down because Russia once again came in and said what they would do, and the commitment there was just not there. Which made Kennedy look extremely weak, and that's one of the reasons why. Well, I won't get into that, but it just made him look really weak. And I'm just saying, it's been a pattern amongst democratical presidents, and not to say that there's no conservative presidents or Republicans that have not made similar mistakes, but these are great mistakes. These are mistakes that not only weaken us, but it just makes us look weak. You know what I mean? All faith in one's government is lost in those moments, and people are probably be like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Like, at the end of the day, I still study. That's all you figure. Almost 15 years in the cage, you just study. You know what I mean? And even before that, I was interested in politics. I just wasn't as well versed as a lot of people. So, I was basically just a fuck up. But I was intrigued by that. You know what I mean? Not only that, but like other politics around the world and wars that have taken place around the world, and why certain things are the way they are. And you're not necessarily gonna get, like, of course, that helicopter, but you're never going to get the whole entire story. So people just put together what they like and what they don't like. That's basically, but so it's been a pattern amongst democratical presidents. I'm just going to say that, you know what I mean? Though there's been Republicans that have made major mistakes, they didn't make us look weak. They just made us broke. You know what I mean? So it's like, I guess you'll just have to choose a lesser of two evils. But now, I feel like Biden has been emboldened by the fact that Vladimir Putin has actually sat down to talk about. I don't know if it's just negotiations or just I didn't hear nothing about a ceasefire, but I'm assuming it would be leading towards that. But now that you've poked the bear, uh, now you got this whole nuclear thing resonating, and for a lot of people that don't understand when it comes to this, because you would figure a man of Putin's intelligence, and you have to be intelligent to survive that long and just constantly, and I'm sure there's shady things he's did in order to stay in power, but you don't survive that long being a stupid man. But now you've basically forced him into a corner. I take that back. He basically forced himself into a corner because he decided to take on this endeavor. But then you think about it, the U.S. did want to bring Ukraine into NATO, which would allow troops to line their border, and that's a little bit too close for comfort. And I can kind of see why he would be upset. It's constantly like you're doing things that undermine his authority. But then again, Russia did have a puppet government in Ukraine for the longest time until he was then ousted, and he thinks on he still thinks, like I said, the whole Cold War thing. You know what I mean? They want back the old Russia. You know what I mean? And I think this was just like the breaking point. But what I wanted to say is, like, now that he's been forced into a corner and may have forced himself into a corner, now he's talking about nuclear standby. You know what I mean? So basically putting his people on that have control of that on high alert, which in turn a lot of people are now feeling a little bit gunshot, like, ooh, this guy, you've seen films from way back about Russia and the fact that how they train their military, and just some of them are just stone psychopaths. But so people still remember that, and some people still fear it. You can see it all in social media. People are in fear of it, on exactly what to take place. Like, okay, and people know that Biden is a weak president, and they there's no real faith in him. They can't really put nothing behind him. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's one of those. But that's basically all I want to talk about when it came to Russia. You know what I mean? I think if for the people that try to take Putin as if he's not serious, I think he's a real threat. And the reason I said that, all that to say this, there's high-ranking officials in his government right now either resigning, outright, I won't say challenging them, but just making their voices known. And back in the days, nobody outside of his, the people that chose to try to run against him would say anything about it. For the most part, people would be quiet, especially those who are like within his cabinet. And now there's prominent members of his cabinet that are like, nah, what you're doing is wrong. So they're pointing it out. Then you have solidarity amongst some Russians and Ukrainians when it comes to this whole thing. So I think he's feeling the pressure, and it's like I think one journalist has said he's feeling embarrassed. Well, not in so many words, but basically he's feeling embarrassed. You know what I mean? Because he thought all the Russian people would be behind him. Hey, let's get the old band back together by snatching up this particular part of the country, and then from there, because look at people try to make it when they first said it was just about Crimea. Because that, due to the separatists, he was backing them up. Like, hey, look, they want to be a part of Russia. They want to be by themselves, but they also want to be a part of us again. So just let that be. The accord came about a long time ago. They settled things. Things weren't settled. And, a lot of people are like, oh, well, after they take Crimea, that it ends there. But we all know, look, they're trying to push towards the capital. So, if it would just end there, he had that. He already then bombed strategic spots, key points where they can, land and get in and out. You know what I mean? He's already did that. So, there's a lot of people arguing about that. But, I digress. I didn't plan on talking this long, but I might as well just, put a little bit more in, especially, you never know what's going to happen. And of course, like people said, it looks like I'm in a bunker. I'm in a shed. It's a big ass shed, but I'm in a shed. You know what I mean? But if you're in the war right now, I'm in the bunker. Huddled down. I got the the Chuck Taylor All-Star shirt. I got on the Jordans, you know what I mean, and the joggers. I'm ready to hit jungles. But anyways, man, yeah, that ain't funny. But I don't know. For the most part, I'm just testing out this little, and hopefully, for the people that follow the channel, I say religiously, because there are some people that really follow the channel that I really solidly mess with. Hey, I'm glad, I'm gracious, and I'm most humbled by that fact, because to be here and just listen to a man talk all day, especially when it's with an annoying voice like my own. I say annoying voice because I don't have a strong voice, which is not necessarily my character. I'll tell you that, but you know. But yeah, so for the people that support the channel, for the people that be donating, I really appreciate you. And and before I end it, for the people that have come on the channel and don't necessarily know the direction I'm going with it, this is an extension of Zaud's Vision, which is a podcast. If you like what you hear, man, look, you can follow Zaud bin Trife. I always put the link in the description, which shows mostly my clips before the actual episode comes out today or tomorrow or whatever. The episode will be out before this comes out. But yeah, and just to address one comment, there's somebody said something along the lines, like, no, not even along the lines, basically that I couldn't afford CMAC, so I mentioned his name as clickbait. For one, if you lose clickbait in your tags or anything, YouTube can give you a strike. You can also get your channel removed by using things that don't pertain to your video. But seeing that Crip Mac was in fact mentioned in the video numerous times, the whole conversation was about the fact of one of my friends interviewing him that had a pretty good close relationship with him and has got multiple episodes, which is Don Jefe, of him dealing with C-Mac, and we're basically getting a general idea of what C-Mac was like through him. Now, I never said C-Mac was on the show, for the people that understand, and even before my boy Don Jefe had did the interview, I had actually reached out to C-Mac's one of his first IG things, IG whatever, and when I had got at him, it turned out it was somebody else. But I asked them what would be the ticket for the interview, because if it's worth it, I'll do it. But I was informed by this individual that it would be something like 5,000, 5 racks, 5 whatever. And I just never responded to the message, because I'm not gonna pay 5 racks for nobody. If I have 5 racks and it was something like, okay, you want to interview Trump? Oh yeah, I'm gonna pay you 5,000, because that interview is gonna be worth it. The reimbursement is gonna be there, and I think some people would just get a kick out of listening to him talk his shit. You know what I mean? The same like with any politician that has any relevance in their name. Yeah, I would pay them 5,000 if I had it, but at this point in time, Zaud Vision is not that big. So for the person that said that, you're right. You know what I mean? I don't got the money to pay for Crip Mac right now. But, as time goes on, I might just, you know what I mean? But if you feel like you want to, donate to the channel in order to have me bring on Crip Mac, I will make that happen. Trust me, I will make that happen. And with that being said, man, you guys enjoy the rest of your night. I'm your boy, Zaud. Shout out to everybody to support the channel. Too Grimy TV, and sorry it's so long, but I just felt like I needed to mention a few things. With that being said, Boss Savvy, well, he's not here right now, he's in the house, like I said, enjoying that heat while I'm out here freezing. And with that being said, I'm your boy Zaud, and I'm out.